see. All right. We on.
All right. Can I ask my question first?
Yeah.
While I have the energy to
How's it going,
articulate it.
everybody?
What's up, our followers?
There he
Like and
is.
subscribe.
Dude, nobody jumped in on us last week.
Hey,
What's up, Tom?
Look who's here.
How's it going?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Mr. Grosheim and
Yes, sir.
Julian and Phil. All right.
Yeah.
So have you guys finished trashing Rings of Power?
Oh
Dude,
man,
Joe
didn't
didn't even finish watching it.
It was so trash. I started watching Game of Thrones though, Tom.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
The Game of Thrones or the House of the Dragon?
Well, I started House of the Dragon, but then I decided I'm gonna go watch the original first, and I'm like 4 seasons into the original.
It gets better from there on.
Loving it.
And then it gets really bad from what
That's what I heard.
Yeah. The very last episode is just stupid. But I mean, they had 8, to their credit, they had 79 or 78 or however many.
Yeah, it's a long series.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
What's really great about it in comparison to Rings of Power is that in Rings of Power, like things happen to and around the characters, and that's what the story is about. It's like, oh, this happened. Oh, look at that. Oh, this happened next. But in Game of Thrones, the entire plot is driven by the agency of the characters, and all of the characters are really competent and really dangerous.
Yeah.
Most of them are not noble people, but there's a few people who are redeemable at least, and a couple who are good. And so the show is watching their wills clash and align in different ways, and that's just inherently interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder to write. Maybe that's why Rings of Power didn't do that. I also heard that the Rings of Power directors are J.J. Abrams students.
Yes, they are.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Apparently, he was the one. I'd heard that he was the one that actually made the phone call to Amazon Studios that got them in. So, yeah, I don't know. I know that I told you about, because Sauron was exactly who I said he was going to be. But my favorite was first of all, even for Sauron, like the villain, like this dude's supposed to be a badass. They literally, Joe, made him be the villain now, like his origin story. The reason why he's evil in Rings of Power is because he gets rejected by Galadriel. Like he was on the way to goodness. He was on his redemption arc.
Yeah, he wanted to save Middle Earth.
And then Galadriel, he was like, "Be my queen," and she's like, "Ew," and he's like, and then he becomes like, "I'm Sauron now," and it's like, what?
I'm going to Mordor.
Yeah, it's like, oh my no.
Hey, and what's it? No. I mean, had he not already?
You can't do somebody like that.
Yeah,
that's my origin story. That's my villain origin story.
That's right. They're plagiarizing your life, though.
Not Sauron, right?
Well, I tell you how bad it is I'm rooting for the orcs now. I mean,
Really, dude, I want Sauron to win. I want him to conquer Middle Earth. Screw these people.
I want him to just, I'd like to see Galadriel, in the dungeon there, in Barad-dûr.
It was bad. It was really bad. And yeah, like I said, Joe stopped. You stopped around like episode 4 or 5 something. It was early.
4 was the last one I watched.
Yeah, halfway through. And you made it. It's not even that fun. I think I'm not going to watch. First of all, season 2 is not going to be around for like another year and a half.
Unbelievable.
2 years. So
even if maybe I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, you'll be in a happier state. Is that
right?
You won't have to watch this. I don't think I'm gonna watch season 2. If I even remember by the time it gets there, I'm out. I don't think I'm not gonna keep going.
Amazon did such a good job, I thought, with Reacher.
Yeah.
They didn't try to make that woke.
Right. It was surprisingly unwoke.
I know.
And did y'all watch the Terminal List, Tom? Did you see the Terminal List?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
I mean, I thought it was okay. It was kind of, you can see what's coming. But yeah, it was all right. I'd watch Terminal List 2.
But Reacher, I'm looking forward to. I'll watch that as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. Reacher was good. I've liked the Jack Ryan series. I know it's not faithful in any way to the source material, having read all those books.
Yeah.
but still, I like it was done pretty well. And like when season 3 comes out in December, I'm waiting for that. Reacher, now that they started filming, I'm waiting for that. They did a great job with that. Rings of Power. I'm just,
they did. I don't know who it was that did Tom Clancy's Without Remorse.
Yeah, I ended up watching that movie after you told me about it. It wasn't, and
the movie is completely unlike the book. The book was good.
It's not even this. Yeah,
I've never read any Tom Clancy. I've always wanted to, though.
It's good. Like I read them starting in high school. Like that was what I.
Hunt for Red October was really good.
Without Remorse, I thought that's one of my favorites of his.
Yeah, Red Storm Rising was great. Anyway.
Maybe I'll get an audiobook of Tom Clancy.
I think Without Remorse and Rainbow Six are, I think, those are my two favorite of the books. But yeah, the other Hunt for Red October was awesome. Yeah, Red Storm Rising, Cardinal of the Kremlin, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All of those really.
Game out of Rainbow Six.
They did.
Yeah. A lot of them actually.
Yeah. But
so what are you guys up to these days, academics wise, job wise? Catch me up. I know Phil's trying to raise money.
Yeah, I'm still at the college. So.
Yeah.
I'm at the Chesterton Academy here in Tennessee teaching. It's a part-time schedule though. So it's a part-time schedule that takes a full-time worth of work. So that's where I'm at.
Still just headmastering a K-8 school in Illinois.
Where in Illinois?
It's this tiny town called Union. It's like not even native Illinoisans have told me they've heard of it.
Sounds like it's southern Illinois.
No, it's actually northern. It's like an hour and a half west of Chicago.
Oh, okay. I'm from Illinois. I grew up in Illinois. I lived in Peoria.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you mentioned that before. It's kind of in like the like I live in Woodstock, and it's kind of by like the Huntley Marengo area. I don't know how familiar you are with that. Yeah. So like an hour east of Rockford.
Yeah, I hope you got warm clothes.
Yeah. It's coming. Coming. Today was actually weirdly nice.
Winter is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. I heard that was coming back.
Yeah.
It's good. I recommend Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it's good.
Another good series is The Wire.
The Wire.
It's about the drug culture in Baltimore.
Yeah.
In fact, Littlefinger from Game of Thrones has a role in that.
I don't like Littlefinger though. Oh, no. The way he always keeps his mouth like.
I know.
That's so annoying. Close your mouth. Dude.
What's that show that everybody watches that they get into The Wire, or it's from The Wire and then they end up all watching the show? Oh my goodness! Now I'm blanking on this. There's this other like mob show that The Wire is like the prequel to.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and that's like everybody that saw the first show like watched The Wire. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's the thing I enjoyed the most about it was the blacks talking to each other, the black lingo, the street rap, the hood, the hood lingo. It was just, it was just hilarious. They had it exactly right. They pitch perfect. What else was I thinking about?
I always loved how in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the pirates like sometimes will just use $5 words, or they'll argue about grammar or something like that. Yeah. I just thought that was so funny, man.
Yeah. That's like the Deadwood when everybody either sounds like a Shakespearean drama or her fuck is like every third word.
Yeah. That's
pretty good.
They're making a Peaky Blinders movie too. Have you ever seen Peaky Blinders, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that show. Yeah, it was
For
good.
the longest time, I thought Peaky Blinders. I mean, what the hell?
I know. It sounds so weird.
It sounded, I thought,
But when you hear it said as Peaky fucking Blinders, then you're like, oh, okay. I can watch this.
I get it. Yeah, I like that. That was good too.
Yeah. What's that actor's name?
Are they
Cillian
coming
Murphy?
up with a new season of that?
No, the seasons are done, but they're going to wrap it up with a movie.
Oh, okay. It's like
the movie's supposed to be set during the Second World War.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go because they were kind of leaning towards the sort of anti-fascist angle in that last couple seasons, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what they were going to do with it, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a problem with that, Joe?
Yeah, it was really petty and empathetic.
The Sopranos.
And the real thing was it was really out of character. So, did you watch this show with us, Julian?
A little bit.
Well, Thomas Shelby is like a very sort of narcissistic, power-driven guy who loves his family. And they, in the middle of season 4, I think, he like remembers some girlfriend he had long before the war. And he's like, oh, yeah, she was hot.
I remember.
I'm going to be an anti-fascist.
That was how
simple as that.
The last part I saw.
It was really poorly done.
That was the last part I saw because I haven't seen the new season.
Yeah. So maybe it's season 5 then. But in any case,
because what's her name? Helen McCrory, whatever.
She died and COVID threw off their schedule. But like the better angle would have been for him to become a fascist. If you really want to be anti-fascist, have him become a fascist and then play out the tragic story that has been building the whole show. You know, that would have been the way to do it. But they did it in the cheapest, stupidest way. Wasn't a fan of that, but I still like the character.
Yeah.
It was a very well written character.
Mm-hmm.
Up until at least the parts that I saw was very, very well.
And you know what? That show was about competent people clashing wills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That just makes for good stories.
The Wire is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
The good guys are good guys, and the bad guys are bad guys, and Idris Elba's one of the bad guys in The Wire. I like him, just as an actor.
He is pretty good.
Is The Wire an older show, like 2002?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's
2002, 2008 is what came up.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, Baltimore drug scene. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is it on HBO or Prime?
I was just looking in general.
Oh,
It looks like it's HBO and Hulu right now.
Okay.
Not even on Netflix? Huh. I guess that's true. Everybody's become so territorial now, I guess. All the shows are by their own. Every studio has its own streaming service, so nobody's sharing rights to anything.
I heard Disney had a decent new show for Star Wars. What's it called?
Andor.
Yeah. I only heard about it though. Anybody?
I have not seen it. I'm not going to watch anything having to do with Lucasfilm or Disney. The only thing that I've heard about it, that the people that again the guys that that I watch on YouTube, whatever, but who have watched it, they're like this doesn't suck, but their estimation of it is that it's incredibly average, and that's how bad Star Wars has been over the last couple of years. Is that something that is this just bland seems pretty good.
Okay, that's not high praise.
The Star Wars movies lost me with Jar Jar Binks.
Part of him aside, I actually have to say, I thought the prequels for me at least. Well, I was a kid when the prequels came out.
Yeah.
And so I've always kind of liked them, and I actually think they've kind of aged rather well. Jar Jar Binks aside.
Yeah.
And some other general maybe critiques maybe but in general, I'm like, those are great.
The spectacle is still pretty good, especially
when it's set in. Oh, I was just gonna fit when it's set in light against what happened with the sequels. Then I'm like, dude, give me the prequels. I'll watch that all day. Like, give me some more Jar Jar Binks. I'll watch that. over what happened with the.
Isn't one of the main critiques of the prequels is the writing?
Yes, there's a lot of cringe writing.
Like Anakin complaining about sand.
Yep.
And whatever that kind of stuff.
It wasn't great.
Younglings.
I read somewhere that like the reason Ewan McGregor like covers his mouth when he says like I saw the video of him killing younglings was because he couldn't say that line without like laughing. So he had to like cover up. It's like wow. But Joe, you were gonna say the spectacle?
Yeah. So like I still think that the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader at the end on what planet is that? The volcano planet, Mustafar. Yeah, I still think that's good. And the problem though is that it's actually too good because it makes the fights in the original trilogy seem like a couple of old men that picked up their canes and are kind of going at each other. All
right. So maybe this is like an exercise then, and I don't even know what the word for it is now. Whatever, right? But this is what I choose to believe. I think you have to, if you're going to explain that in canon, you have to recognize, I think, that Vader is going to have lost something, becoming a machine, right? Like, just having all robot arms and legs, like you're just, it's not going to be the same. For the old man duel in A New Hope, the explanation that I choose to believe.
You got to click that link.
Okay.
You've never been to this website before.
I have not.
Have you guys seen?
Drop it in.
Pull it up.
Drop it in the private chat. You put it in the public comments.
Oh, okay. How do I do that?
There's a link that says private chat over on the right. It says there's the comments, banners, brand, private chat.
All right.
Drop it in the private chat. But what I choose to believe is that what the hell? Is that Vader?
Share your screen so everybody
hold
can
on.
see.
All right. Then I'll say what I say afterwards.
This is it's a good tool to have.
Oh, this.
Beware of red buttons.
That's it. That's all that's on this website.
Have you guys seen the Terminator?
Which one?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking, I
the one from like 1986. I've seen that one.
No, earlier than that.
Or 84.
Yeah,
I think the.
Okay, and the first two were awesome. I thought
the second one was better.
Yeah, but after that, not so much.
No.
But I mean, being younger, you guys are younger, and that movie's even before. I just wondered if that was still part of the. Something that you guys, your generation would see.
I saw it at one point, but I think I saw it deliberately. I was like, all right, I got to become cultured.
Yeah, I don't think it's part of the cultural thing anymore. And especially after the last couple Terminator movies, like that nobody saw, even in theaters. Like it didn't make money.
Yeah.
Like, nobody went to see it. So but no, dude, Terminator 2 is still a classic. Judgment Day.
Oh man. Yeah.
The best one.
Yeah.
I choose to believe that in A New Hope, Vader fights so slowly because he remembered the last time he overestimated Obi-Wan, he got his ass chopped up. And he was like,
that's
I'm not
your headcanon justification.
Yeah, that's my, and I was like, he's kind of, my headcanon is that Vader is deliberately holding back just to see what's up.
What about when he's, so Luke is holding back? Everybody's just holding back.
That's what I choose to believe. No, for the other stuff, like when he's fighting Luke, I'm like, he's a robot. That's what I choose to be. He's going to have lost something from what Anakin used to be.
I'd like you to say that in Canassus's metaphysics class, that this is just what I choose to believe.
That's right. Well, it's a fictional universe, right? So I can choose to believe whatever.
All right, I think I gotta head out, boys.
Right. Yeah, I do too. My better half is she's waiting on me. So
all righty, good to see you, Tom. Yeah,
good to see you both.
You drop in. I'll make sure I'll send you the link for next week.
Yeah, please do. Please keep me on the list. All right, see you guys.
Take care.
Bye bye.
All right.
Yeah, I'm beat.
Wait. Just give me 2 seconds, Julian.
All right.
Phil, open this website. So the website I sent you was the useless web site.
Yeah.
But it was /no.
Yeah.
Just go there.
You can share this kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Here, I clicked one a second ago. I'll tell you what happened.
He has a problem with red buttons, though.
That's right. That's right. He might yeet himself again.
Okay, I'll watch out. All right, so I clicked this a second ago, and it took me to like the hardcore prawn lawn.
Oh my god!
All right, now prawns like
shrimp.
Yeah, and it was so it like loaded, and there were like some cut out pieces of shrimp spinning on a lawn, and some like loud ass music started playing in my ears. So I'm gonna click it. Maybe we'll see where it offers us. So puke.pet.
What the hell?
Carl or Penny, boys?
Oof. Penny.
Carl for sure. Oh, okay. Penny? What are you? Phil, break the tie.
Penny kind of looks like Winston.
I gotta say, that's kind of where I was at.
Penny here. Don't make dog Penny puke.
What the hell?
What feed?
Oh, this is like.
Yeah, these are like.
This is not as stupid as it should be. I want a stupid website.
All right, well, let's go back.
Yeah.
I don't see why you can't give pizza to your dogs, but whatever.
They can't digest dairy. I wanted to show you guys the prawn lawn. I don't think it's
coronavirus ninja.
All right, we'll just check that out.
Is this family friendly? I don't know. I don't want to have to edit this later.
It does not look family friendly.
It's just a game.
Ninja. Oh, that's funny.
Screaming goat piano. That sounds good. I'm going to take my headphones off.
website.
Okay. All right. I think this is safe. Am I sharing my audio? Probably not.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet.
Well, there hasn't been any noise yet. How do I make sure my audio is being shared?
If you can stop sharing, and when you go back to share again, it'll ask if you want to share audio. And
okay. Didn't make any noise. It doesn't even work. Can you guys hear it?
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, it's not working. Oh, that's so sad. What a useless website. Oh. All right. Well, that's it. I thought this was going to be more fun than it was, Julian. I'm sorry for retaining you.
It's all right, man. It's all good.
Nothing was as good as the prawn lawn. Hardcore prawn lawn. That was pretty wild. It was so loud, man. It was right when Tom was saying something. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
All right, Julian. Maybe next week you'd be a little more rested.
Yeah, we'll see. Next week is parent-teacher conferences, so.
Oh, no. I have open house on Sunday.
I don't get my hopes up for that. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to the Baltimore Comic-Con on Saturday. I've never been to one. I've never been to one ever, so
you gonna cosplay?
I don't have anything to cosplay as, so no.
Just don't, man.
No, I'm just gonna go as me, just to hang out. I'm just gonna see what's up.
Yeah,
there's
gonna be a lot of, weird ass girls and girls with weird asses.
Hey, either one of those could be fine with me. Either one of those.
Well, because they always wear these strange costumes that are like always.
That's fine.
It's like making characters who scandalous that have no business being scandalous or whatever.
I am gonna wear
like Halloween.
Yeah. I am gonna wear like an identifiable Geeks and Gamers hat. And so, like, everybody there, like, they're either gonna like, that's awesome, or they're gonna want to punch me in the face.
Yeah. If you're gonna wear that, also go like with a bulletproof vest. I feel like
my bag is bulletproof. That's what that I also have the Geeks and Gamers patch on. So,
whatever you need to do to stay alive, man.
Well, especially in
It's
Baltimore.
not like the geeks are going to be able to hurt him. Like, just don't let them sit on you.
That's right.
All right.
I do. See you.
See you later.
All righty.
All right. I got energy for my question. But that's about it. I hate to be selfish.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll really be able to help you out.
Well, you actually like studied Wallace, and maybe he mentions this. But what I was trying to remember was what the problem was with projectile inertial motion. And this is
okay.
So in general, is what I understand, right? That it's an act potency thing, and so once the cause is removed, the act should be removed, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, but that's not true actually in all kinds of change, and I'm not sure why it would be true in motion either. So if I take fire and I warm a stone, the stone can retain the fire. If I take a stick and I draw in the wet sand, the sand can retain the line. So Thomas and Aristotle distinguish between the receptive and retentive powers of matter, right? And that's what I was thinking. Like, why can't they retain the actuality of their motion?
Because I think the central contention is that because everything that is moved has to be moved by another.
But that contention isn't contested, I don't think.
It is, because then what's moving that's why when you talk about...
I'm not saying that it has no cause. I'm just saying it has no cause of its ongoing motion, right? It had a cause that...
I know, but I think that's the problem, is you're wondering how is that possible?
Well, I was trying to understand it in terms of retentive properties of things.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because I wonder then if all right, we've been having fun all night, so now I'm trying to get serious about thinking about something. So the stuff when you talk about the stick drawing in the sand, or even the fire heating something, that all seems to be something qualitative, wherein something something of the form is retained, right? And so I think, and Jake's brought this out once or twice too, right? You have to draw the distinction between the cause of something's becoming and the cause of something's being, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, the stick in the sand...
We did this with stone, actually, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, that's the cause of the stones becoming hot is the fire. And the cause of the stones continuing to remain hot is something, internal to its matter. That's all right. I see that. I can kind of see that in some sort of quality, right? Whether it's shape or heat, or temperature or something like that. I think I see more of a problem with something like local motion.
Motion is in the genus of action, right?
Motion is in...
it's the act of a potency.
Yeah, all right. I don't know how much time you got, because Aristotle, that part was really, really confusing to me on motion, right? Because he said motion is only in the categories of substance, quality, quantity, and place.
Oh, this is one of those things where we have something that might fit into multiple categories.
Yeah, well, he raises does motion... I don't know where I don't have it...
I think those things are things that move, right? Those accidents are accidents that move, right? Like substance isn't... When substance changes, we don't call that motion. And I'm not saying that when action changes, we call it motion. I'm saying that motion itself, in its definition, is an act of a potency.
Yeah, right. But the definition of motion, right? The actuality of the potential as such. But even act and potency is divided among all 10 categories.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I don't know. I don't think I would stipulate right now that
act is divided among all 10 categories, but there are acts which fall under the category of action.
There are acts that fall under the category of action.
So it could be that motion is an act that falls under that category, just like murder is.
Yes. Right, but that's murder being just a kind of human action falling under the genus of action, right? I don't know that motion per se falls in that genus.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. All I was thinking was, well, I guess I don't know. I guess I was just trying to get started, but so I guess what you're thinking with the qualitative changes that are retained is that there's something of the form that is retained by the matter, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you're kind of understanding retention.
We can talk about retentive properties.
But of course, form is in all the 10 categories as well. Just it's either substantial form or accidental form. So I don't understand why an action like motion, maybe it can be in the category of action or maybe not. I don't understand why that can't just be something retained. The only problem I can think of is that it's a universal retention. There is nothing that doesn't retain it.
Yeah, right. So like where Thomas says about, so when that problem of projectiles, which is in book 7, and we haven't gotten there yet, and so I haven't read it, not in a while, right? Yeah, because so the mover, and this is why it seems like this is why local motion seems to present particularly the problem. For local motion, the mover and the thing moved must always be together, as proven in book 7. And I guess Thomas talks about it, lecture 3, book 7.
As is evident, this is so interesting. As is evident in the case of a stone that is thrown or an arrow that is shot from a bow. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that things are found.
That.
Yeah.
I didn't read the first part of the sentence.
Yeah, right. Because the projectile is found to be in motion even after it's separated from the projector, right? And so it seems like on Aristotle's account, and Thomas kind of takes him as correct on this, or at least he follows him, that something for local motion has to continually be in contact, moving the thing locally. And like for Aristotle,
we're talking about continuous bodily contact.
Yeah, well, that's why they thought it was the air.
Yeah. So, all right. Why does it have to be contiguous bodily contact?
Right. I think it's on the supposition that because things don't move themselves. So if this is moving, it has to be being moved by another.
Well, what about even if we understand gravity
I think,
in terms of natural
appetite? The stone. Let's go back to this. The stone isn't becoming hot anymore of its own power, right? It's not in motion.
Yeah. But it's not that the
so when you talk about it's retentive, it just retains.
If I took this stone and I put it in a vacuum, it would retain it indefinitely. Well, I guess it would like slowly radiate, perhaps.
Well, yeah, it retains the heat, right? It doesn't retain the becoming hot.
Yeah, but the becoming in motion seems to be acceleration.
It doesn't have to be, right? Because the motion can be constant. It doesn't have to be accelerating.
The motion becoming seems to be acceleration. That means change in velocity, right?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so maybe the absolute beginning, right? Yeah, if something goes from like, you've got the ball that's over here and you start to roll it, right? Okay, yeah. So it does have to start moving, and that's going to be an acceleration from not moving,
or from moving at different speed.
Right. But even there, you have something of contact.
Yeah. So there is. Well, back to my gravity question. Even if we understand gravity in terms of natural appetite, what's the contact?
Yeah. So that was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask.
The intrinsic nature of the stone or something?
That's exactly, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask about the void, that Aristotle says there's no need to suppose the void because he's like, oh, well, you'd have to ask what kind of cause the void is. And for natural motion, you don't need to suppose any sort of cause because it's in the nature of the thing, right? Fire just moves upward of its own account, and earth just moves downward, right, of its own nature. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, Aristotle seems to think regarding natural place, and that's really what my question was about. But even let's suppose natural place, that seems to exert its own sort of cause. When you talk about local motion, outside of natural place. It's kind of seems like you're talking about forced motion, right? Like when you throw the stone.
Unnatural motion.
Yeah. When you throw the stone.
Yeah.
Because now something is keeping it out of its natural place, and it isn't your hand because it's left your hand. And so what is in fact moving this thing? Since the mover and the moved have to be in contact together.
Well, once it leaves your hand, my argument is just that it retains the actuality of the motion that it had when your hand was acting on it. And it does. If it were in a void, it would just retain that and there would be no change. Right? Afterwards, it would just retain what was given to it. It wouldn't accelerate, wouldn't do anything on its own, right?
Yeah.
So the cause of the becoming of the thing is still whatever set it in motion. And the cause of the being of the motion is just the material body. Right?
Yeah, that there's something in this material body that is capable of receiving whatever impetus.
And retaining, more importantly.
And retaining it.
And it would have to extend to all material body.
I think it does, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so for whatever reason, right, at least when it comes to local motion, Aristotle and Thomas don't consider that possibility.
Yeah. There's something I'm missing, so don't know.
Like for whatever reason, like when it comes to local motion, they seem to think more strictly that mover and moved must be in contact.
Right. I guess I got to read book 7 again.
It's lecture 3, says the footnote here.
There. Okay.
Book 7, lecture 3.
Well, I suppose that's a start then.
But yeah, because that was one of the things I wanted to ask about the void. I wanted to ask a number of things. One, all but like one of the 6 arguments that Thomas gives that he says Aristotle gives against the void, all of them rely on natural place. And I think there seems to be maybe a problem with natural place.
Oh, yeah. I remember you wanted to ask about void. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. And then I really do. I wanted like, what is in a vacuum?
Nothing.
It can't be nothing. You know that, right? You can't have subsistent non-being.
Well, yeah, that's what a void is nothing, right?
Yeah.
A vacuum is nothing.
There can't be, but if a vacuum isn't nothing, even when you have like the glass tube and you've sucked all the air out of it and you've made this artificial vacuum and stuff, like you can still see through it. Light still travels through it. There is some medium.
Could be traveling through it.
Well, what is it that you see?
You see the other side, I guess, if you're looking at it.
If it's a glass tube, you can see you can see the table that's in there. You can, or whatever it's on, like.
But in the tube, there's nothing.
There can't be nothing. You can't.
I don't necessarily know if I buy into the theory that light needs a medium. I don't know that we need that.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What does it? I don't even know how to think about that.
This is just one of those.
What would it travel through?
It's a thing. It's a photon. It doesn't travel through anything. It's a thing which travels. It's not like
you can't travel.
It travels through space, right? I don't understand why you would need more than that.
But that's space is a something. If it traveled through nothing, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, space is a measurement, but you can measure between 2 objects of which there is nothing in between. I don't understand the problem.
I don't see how you don't. How do you have something that contains non-being?
Something that contains it?
That's what you said, right? Nothing.
There's 2 objects and there's nothing in between.
Yeah, right. So how do you have non-being between 2 objects?
I'm not saying that non-being exists between 2 objects. I'm saying that 2 objects exist.
That's what nothing is, though, right?
Equivocally, that's what it is. Like, why are you trying to be tricky with those words?
I'm not trying to be tricky at all. I'm not trying to equivocate at all. I'm trying to say I'm trying to get to the definition of nothing is just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't exist.
Right.
So it can't be anywhere.
So is your But it isn't. It's just that one thing is here and the other
but you're
is
saying
there.
you're saying it's here. It's in this space.
But I'm referencing the space only relative to that which is. And that's how we define nothing or non-being, right? Relative to that which is. The in between the two things that are, that's non-being, right? But I'm just defining it relative to two things which are. Maybe I can't do that, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm not following your explanation.
This is me. That's not me.
Yeah.
This is non-Joe, right?
Mhm.
Now you understand non-Joe relative to Joe. You see Joe, and relative to Joe, you see non-Joe, right? Right. So this is the non-Joe, and there's non-Joe in between Joe and the PC. There's also non-PC here.
Yeah. All right, but so in this box, right? I have this box in front of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And you're saying there's non-being in the box?
You're trying to make a positive predication of a negation. That's why I'm accusing you of just being tricky.
I'm not. That's why I'm not trying to be tricky. I'm trying to say what's in the box, and you can't say nothing. That's a positive assertion. You're saying there is no thing. There is.
Well, when you say
in
that,
the box.
You mean that.
Right, because we would say there's.
We're
air
referring
in the box,
to a privation.
Right?
There could be air in the box.
Right. But in
can I close the box and say there's non-light in the box? Right. Do you have a problem with that?
No, right? But there's a difference, I think, in saying non-being, right? Because then it sounds like you're trying to assert then that there's non-being.
All right. So you're understanding
subsisting in the thing.
So you're understanding, I guess, Aristotle's theory to be an assertion of plenum. Not plenum and void, but plenum.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fullness. Mm-hmm. That everything is full of being. That there is no non-being, literally. That wherever I go, there's something.
Yes, I think that has to be right. Otherwise, it wouldn't be.
And by something, I assume that you mean something that exists on its own?
It doesn't have to be, right? Accidents exist in another. Like, so it doesn't have to be subsistence, but still, right?
The only way I can see you reconciling this is with quantum field theory, and I don't think you're going to like that.
Well, that's why I'm at. I've heard people talk about the plana or whatever, just the field. And I was like, well, I'm not actually sure what that would be like either. How do you
It's a stupid abstraction. It's just a way of understanding matter as a vibration in a quantum field, which whatever that means, who the hell knows? It's just I'm going to imagine something.
That's the thing, right? That if you're going to have, if you're going to have matter traveling, right, it has to have something through which it travels. And that's why it can't be nothing.
So you want to call empty space something. Are you okay with doing that?
I'm wondering what it is.
So the the one astronomical unit that is between the Earth and the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say that empty space has to be filled with something, even if that thing is just the space or just the measurement. Are you okay with just saying just the space or just the measurement?
It's not just the measurement, right? Because that's the abstraction.
Yeah, and it's also an accident and not a substance, and that's why I was asking whether you thought
whether it has to be a substance or not, right? But
and that's why I went to quantum field theory.
Yeah, it's that in this space, I think there has to be. Yeah, I think there has to be something. Because I cannot wrap my head around the fact that you can say that there is non-being, which is that's what nothing is. I'm trying to univocate.
Why is
that term?
Why do you run into a problem with the negation of being, but not with the negation of other things? Is it because
because you can have
is filled with other things that are just non-Joe, but still being
non-Joe. Non-Joe is a lot of other stuff. Non-being, just it isn't. That's the thing. and because like from nothing you get nothing and all that mess. Like if this was nothing, you could never have anything come to be in that place, in that space, whatever. You couldn't have anything pass through it. There, any of that, I don't see how that would be possible if that was non-being. I don't see how you could say anything about it at all if it were non-being.
It's a privation that's understood relative to being, right? Non-being is a privation understood relative to being. And it seems to me, or the way I've always thought about it, is that the so-called void, which there's lots of dispute about whether it's an actual void or what, but the so-called void in between stellar objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
or even just the vacuum
does not have anything. Well, I'm trying to think of real world examples rather than the fabricated ones.
Yeah, well,
the empty space in between two stellar bodies is not a thing, and it can only be thought of relative to those bodies. Those bodies, in a way, are like constantly moving relative to each other, and like it's not that I can kind of fix my mind on the space itself that is presently between them in like a sort of Newtonian grid sense. I can't fix my mind on that. And
really, you can't?
No, so, well, I can't because, like, hang on.
All right,
So, like, the Earth is careening around the sun, which is careening around the Milky Way, which is careening through the galaxy. Allegedly. If there's a Newtonian grid, like in all of this, right, that space that's here right now between the Earth and the sun, boom, right, there they go. They just flew the fuck off that way. That space, I can't think about it as if it's fixed on a Newtonian grid because I need the reference points. I could draw the grid, I suppose, and have new reference points other than the sun and the Earth, but I need reference points to think about that empty space because it's nothing.
But it cannot be nothing. It wouldn't have dimensionality if it were non-being. Has no dimensionality.
No, it doesn't. You're right, but the dimensions are between two objects. I can't measure.
But the space,
can't measure.
The space that has like right there between the Earth and the sun, there is
between two beings, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
When
that's fine.
Whatever
you cannot give me between some point. Because if I name the point, I'm giving a reference point. But if there were like 2 points in space, I can't give you a point. How do I explain this? In space, where there are randomly
out in space somewhere.
Randomly out in space, there can't be a measurement.
And there's nothing?
Because there's nothing. There can't just be a measurement. There has to be two things that are being, the distance between them is being measured.
Okay, that's one. That's distance.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, but if you're talking about what's there.
Why does anything have to be there?
Something has to be there. Otherwise, right, you're talking about, again, you're talking about something that is, there's some space out there that isn't.
Say that again.
Right. So when you talk about place that is devoid of body.
Yeah.
Right. Now that's one thing. I can handle place that might be devoid of, like on Earth.
Think about place devoid of body.
It's an empty box. Right.
Okay. All right.
Even even Aristotle's like, well, it's full of air. So like, all right, on Earth that's one thing. But out in the middle of space, like you said, right, where they're really, as far as you can tell, it's just so freaking huge. There's no particles, there's no atoms, there's no photons, there's no particles that you can see at all, right? The thing that I'm struggling with then is that if it's really truly no thing, and by that I mean non-being, then nothing, it couldn't exist.
What if it doesn't?
Then something has to then that means that space is something. That's what I'd be trying to get at.
So space itself is the question.
Yeah, because like clearly there are things like vacuums. There are that's
not clear to theorists today.
whether it's artificial, okay, or even out in, well, that it's not clear even in the midst of the depths of space to them either.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And Aristotle didn't know about either of these two things, as far as I can read. He denies the void just wholesale. Right. But I think, given if what he means by the void is right, that it is a space with no thing in it, then I think that has to be right. Because you cannot have subsisting non-being, right? Now, whether it's full of air, like we just talk about an empty box, but really it's not empty. We just mean it in a more colloquial sense. If it's in space and it's just, then we don't know what the hell that is yet. I mean, all right, I can stomach
It's just
that.
weird to me that you're trying to assign properties to it, like subsisting. Like, it's not a thing. It's between two things.
It has to, right? Even that, but that something that's between two things is something.
Could it be that the dimensions...
Right, quantity
quantity
doesn't exist by itself.
Could it be that we need to develop in order to save the appearances here, could it be that somehow the dimensions need to be developed to be understood to include measurements relative to other objects?
That could be totally right. That's what I'm trying to get at. This is something I'm admitting to having this is a conundrum for me.
This is the way I've always thought about it.
And I'm trying to figure it out.
When I'm thinking about empty space in between two interstellar objects, I'm thinking about that space, but only relative to those objects. The objects weren't there. There's nothing there to think about. That sort of space only exists in my mind, or can only be conceived by my mind, rather, relative to things which exist.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that's not even kind of betrays the problem by itself, right? Is the very fact that you can think about it means that it's something.
No, you can't think about it except negatively. I'm really thinking about the sun and Hades' comet when I'm thinking about the space in between them.
Yeah, and you're just like, and all of that,
it's a sort of relational
like whatever
quantity
is between them, right? Like the rest of the stuff that all the planets and stars are in, that vast distance between them that doesn't seem to have any sort of material body so far as we can tell at the moment, it still has to be something.
All right, I have maybe to develop my answer earlier, I have a more down-to-earth question, a literally more down-to-earth question. Is an accident of mine that I am currently 4 feet from the door?
Mm-hmm.
All right, is that all? Is that a relational quantity, or what would we call that?
Let's see. The accident of your place.
Is it place? Can we call that place?
I think it's the relation, right? It's the relation of your place to the door's place is 4 feet apart.
And so, because I'm an individual body, there's actually an infinite number of relations that I have in terms of...
Could have, yeah, whatever, fine.
Okay, all right. So if that's fine, then an interstellar object has also the same sort of infinite relations, right? Between it and other bodies.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting to where I was. But go ahead.
I'm wondering if that's an accident, right? Of
the relations itself. The relations, the accident, but that's not what we're asking about, right? We would be saying.
No. So the sun and Hades' comet are 18 AU apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an accident that exists in the sun and Hades' comet. That they are 18 AU apart.
Yeah, but that's the relation between them. Yeah, that's not what I'm asking about.
And that's the same sun has actually a relation in the same way to every other material body in the entire fucking universe. Right? And every other material body has the same relation, be it unknown to us, right? As it will always be to every other material body in the fucking universe.
Okay.
Right?
So where are you going?
So what you want to identify as non-being, could it be something that is said to be sort of present in a subject? Because Aristotle does say that it's not existing in a subject,
mm-hmm.
right? But it's just predictable.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure about that. And again,
Neither am I.
No, but like this is so because here on Earth it presents something of the problem, because on Earth, as I think whether or not theory or no, whatever, but you could say that there's nothing that's ever really truly empty on Earth, right?
People dispute that.
Well, yeah, but on what grounds? Like when you get up out of the chair,
the distance between the electron and the nucleus it orbits.
What about that?
There's not supposed to be anything there. It's not a solid mass. It's not like the nucleus, right? Void is not just in outer space. It's in atoms.
Yeah, well, Aristotle denies that too. That there could be that there's void in bodies. And again, right?
But we have to save the appearances, and Aristotle would not just stick to that.
Yeah, so
you're either going to have to repudiate the electron microscope, or you're going to have to amend Aristotle on that one.
Yeah. So, but like when you start at the level of our experience, right? You talk about when you get up out of the chair, and we talk about, the chair's empty, and it's not really, right?
Right, it's full of air.
There's bodies of there are molecules and stuff that's there.
Yeah, the skin cells from my ass.
All that is still there, right?
Now you're wondering if I'm wearing pants, right?
I prefer not to think about that because I suspect the answer, but whatever, right?
Just
have the little fuzzy right there. But,
it'd be a big fuzzy.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But so when you get it, it's like, all right, but the chair is still full, right? But on Earth, that's one thing, because of the atmosphere and there were all these molecules bouncing around there's just always something somewhere. When you really start talking about space, outer space, right, in the distance between planetary bodies, even if you're not talking about it as distance, right, as a relation of one body to the other, when you're just talking about what's out there, right, clearly it's some kind of location, because all the planetary bodies are they're in orbit in it around the sun in this space, right, in this massive place. Even you talk about whether it's the solar system,
the universe, right?
The Milky Way, the universe, whatever, right?
Yeah, the Newtonian grid.
So in the all that is the universe, right, clearly there is something that these bodies are passing through, and it can't be nothing, because if the bodies were to pass through nothing, even if that were possible, that would entail something like instantaneous translocation, which would be being in one place and in another place at the same time. And I think that entails a contradiction. Since no two bodies can't occupy the same place at the same time. And so if you're talking about if a body were to pass through the void, if it were to pass through nothing, right, then it would be there, it would be not there. Or it would be somewhere else at the same place, right? At the same time.
Why?
That's what it would mean to pass through the nothing.
But the nothing I cannot think of except relative to other things. That's the problem. You want to think about all of the nothingness in the universe, but you can only think about it relative to the things that are in the universe.
I don't think about nothing in the universe because I dispute that I don't think that's possible. Right? To your point earlier, right? You can only talk about non-being as
you can't think about a fixed space and outer space. You need something to fix your mind on.
There is outer space, isn't there? Isn't there?
But if you look up at the stars, Phil, you could look into the blackness in between two stars.
Okay.
But the blackness that you're looking at, you're only able to understand relative to either the light that isn't there, right? That you're oh, this is black. This is not illuminated. Or you're understanding it relative to the stars that you're looking between. But you're not seeing some actuality.
I don't understand how you'd say that, right? If it wasn't something, you couldn't be seeing it.
You're not seeing anything.
What are you just said, right? You're looking at this space between two objects.
But these are words, Phil, that designate
This isn't
privations.
words. It's something I'm looking right
They're
when
words
we go
that
outside.
designate
This
privations.
isn't words. When you go outside at night and you look out into the blackness, you're seeing something. Those aren't words.
You're not seeing anything, Phil. If I go into a cave and I open my eyes, I don't see anything. Right? My eyes are wide open and I see the blackness.
Now I think we're equivocating on the seeing, right? There, right? So
But no. There's no light entering my eyes from
exactly
from the blackness in space.
So, but in the cave, there would be something to see if only there were light, right?
If there were actually enough light, you could still see something in the blackness there. You'd see the real objects that are there.
Yes, but that's the thing. Like in space,
that's what I'm talking about.
What would be the cave there?
Oh, well, there's no wall, if that's what you mean.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like in the universe. So, but here again, the problem is like on Earth, between you and the cave wall, there's air, right? And that's what the light needs to pass through in order to get to your eyes. And if there's no light, it doesn't matter that there's air, right? Because but when you're talking about out in space, if you're saying there is no media, I don't see how you can predicate quantity of non-being. And that's what you're trying to do.
Never once. I've only predicated quantity of two objects.
No, you predicated quantity of a relation between two objects where you're saying there's non-being. To predicate quantity of the objects, you would be telling
that's predicating it of the objects.
No.
You said of the relation.
That's of the relation between
the relation of two objects.
To predicate quantity of the object is different. Right?
When you said I was 4 feet from the door.
Yeah,
all right.
Joe. When I predicate your quantity and you're 5'5".
Yes, I know. Yes.
1,000 pounds, whatever it is that you are, right?
That's
that would be to predicate quantity.
I understand. I understand that.
To predicate the quantity of your relation to the door, that's something else, right? That's not predicating.
What am I predicating of? What am I predicating of the air? Am I talking about the air?
Talk about that distance.
That distance. So yeah, the distance is what? What is it? A substance, Phil?
Not the.
How does that distance part of reality? Is it present in a subject or no?
I'm saying in that distance is air. Here.
So when I say there's 4 feet between me and the door, I'm not saying anything about myself. Is that really what you're saying?
You're saying about a particular relation that you have to the door. That's not my point. That's not what I'm talking about, though. Between you and the door here on Earth, there's air. Between like Mars and Earth in space, there can't be non-being. Because you can't predicate quantity. You can't predicate, well, I don't even know how far it is, however many hundreds of millions of miles.
I just don't think I'm predicating it of nothing. The same way that I don't think I'm predicating 4 feet of the air, I'm predicating it of me or of the door or of us both.
You have to predicate it of you. You have to predicate it of you both. It's not predicated of you.
Both is good.
That's what that's what it means to
both is good.
Relation. Right? But still, right? There's something in that space between you and the door. There's air. There's not nothing.
But that's irrelevant to my predication.
Then we're not talking about the same thing, because my whole question has been about what's in that space.
I understand, and I'm trying to tell you that
and
this
you
is
can't
not the way to ask.
You can't say that it's nothing. And trying to shift it, that's semantics, right? That would be talking about just the words. Trying to say, well, it's just this like mental relation between, and that's all.
No. I'm trying to tell you that because you're trying to think about the space in between. And I'm trying to tell you, when you think about the space in between, what you're actually thinking about are the two bodies and the relation. You're trying to ask questions about.
Fine, even if that were so, I'm still trying to ask what's in that space between.
And there's nothing in between.
It can't be nothing. It absolutely cannot be nothing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be.
I'm just running over different thought experiments I could bring in to try to clear this up.
I don't see that. You can't, of all the things that I would be prepared to accept, right? It cannot be nothing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be at all.
And what are you prepared to put in this space?
I don't know. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know if it's like the mass energy, and I don't know if you just imagine these freaking tendrils like just going through all space that connects all these bodies or whatever. Shit, I don't know. Right? I don't know. But it would have to be something because it cannot be non-being. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what's in this space, right? What would you like? That's what's so difficult is like what's in the vacuum after you've sucked out all the other particles, to the extent that that's possible.
Well, I mean, the way we talk about it, and maybe there's problems with the way people talk about it, but the way they talk about it is they say there is just space in between. And when they say that, what they mean is referencing the two bodies that are at the extremities, right? That the nothingness in between, or the space in between, is through a subject, through two subjects, really. Right? Well, that's what I've been trying to get at. That maybe
say that again.
That what is between the two subjects, or between the two extremities, only is through the extremities. You don't measure the space without the extremities, right? And that's what we mean by space. We mean the distance between the two extremities, whatever it is that we're measuring.
Fine. Yeah, and I get that's the difference between, I get the difference. So that's the difference between place and space.
Can there be,
but I don't get how there is non-being in some location.
It's not that it's in a location, though.
That's what you're saying. That's it. The void is place that's devoid of body.
How does that imply that it's in a location?
That's what place is. You're saying
yeah, okay.
You're saying that like in the jar there is non-being, and that like breaks my head. I don't see how you could assert something.
Well,
like
it's hang on. Maybe the jar helps, because it's not quite non-being in the jar. It's in the jar, right? That is something that's part of reality.
Whether it's
even if there's nothing else in the jar, even if there's no air in the jar, there is still the inness of the jar, or
whatever that is. That's my question, right? Like even so, like whether it's an artificial vacuum where you like have the glass tube on the table and you've sucked out whatever, like something is in the tube, whatever.
Or rather that there is the in the tube.
Yeah. Right. Or even if you take that same jar and you bring it out into outer space, into the vacuum, into the,
right.
Something is inside the jar.
Or no. I think you're going too far. I wonder if all you can say is that there is in the jar.
But what is that? All right. So, all right.
Because in the jar still is part of reality. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right. And
you want to ask, like, is the jar full? And I say, no. There is no subject which is predicable of in the jar.
Yeah, and I don't know how you would say, because what's then when you look at in the jar.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Like what you have this space. But the very fact, again, like if even granting the deep darkness of space that you could see in the jar.
Let's just say space-time. Let's do it. You've proven space-time theory or quantum field theory, one or the other, Phil.
I have deep problems with space-time. I don't see how time can be. But that's another question I wanted to ask that maybe we talk about next week. Because like the space time, I have huge super problems with. I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week I'll have a chance to think about it. I'm tired. I meant to get off here 45 minutes ago.
All right. Sorry, but this is
all right. No, that's a good question.
Well, that's why
It took me a while to understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, this is something like I don't have something to offer. It's one of those things where I know what the answer can't be. And I'm just looking for.
Yeah, it's a Jake question.
I'm looking for just what it is.
Where the hell is Jake?
Dude, okay, I have an answer for that. I don't know if I can say it live. Here we go. Let's end the broadcast. There we go. Like, subscribe.